Russ Collins.
Here.
Bob Gunzel.
Here.
Lee Gunn.
Here.
Roger Hewitt.
Here.
John Heapcha.
Here.
Joe Lowenstein.
Here.
John Moak.
Here.
Nader Nassif.
Here.
Keith Orr.
Here.
Sandy Smith.
Here.
And John Split. We have a quorum.
Thank you. The next item is audience participation, and the first person who is listed, Jennifer Hall, is ill and unable to come, so I would like to call on Brendan Cavendar from Colliers. Is he here? Please come to the podium.
Good morning.
You have 4 minutes.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Brendan Cavender. I am the young partner at Colliers International downtown Ann Arbor, also a broker there. I was asked to show up here, kind of answer any questions about what's going on downtown right now. We are involved in a lot of leasing and sales, also trends that we've seen recently that are significant for downtown. So please, if there are any questions, yes, sir.
Brendan, tell us what's happening at Borders.
Well, what we're able to say is happening at Borders. We've announced one of the tenants, which represents about 30 to 40% of the overall building, that is Prime Research. They are relocating from Ashley Street. They are hiring a ton of people coming down to campus. They're going from about 5,000 square feet to 17,000 square feet. What is significant about that move is it kind of mimics the other moves we've seen down in that area of the tech companies that have moved into this area. Last year we moved Barracuda down here with the addition of Menlo. It's really become kind of a tech hub. So what's happening with these tenants, first of all, they're high density tenants. These are not 4 employees per 1,000 square feet. They're 6 or 7 employees per 1,000 square feet, which means there's more people. They're also very well paid, which means they all go out to eat, they all drink, they all shop, which is fueling the restaurants. So we've seen a real transition and move downtown Ann Arbor for tech companies, which is great.
Something we started out, I know, the city years ago to see if we couldn't. Google was first
Sure.
to establish a tech campus. Seems to be working out.
Absolutely. I think in the next 2 to 3 years, down in the block, kind of Liberty, Maynard, Washington area, we will have probably 1,400 young tech employees, which is significant. The thing that's really helped us get them down here, and I can stand here and say the only reason Barracuda was able to come downtown
The Michigan Theater.
That's one, but parking. People don't realize we were a day away from signing a lease in South Ann Arbor for Barracuda Networks, and then the parking kind of came together. While it's great to think that everyone can ride their bike or take the bus, not everyone can.
So the downtown structure was the key, the underground structure.
Absolutely. And that was an incentive for Prime Research to move down here. So you look at Prime Research will probably go to at least 150 to 250 people. Barracuda is looking to go to about 450 people or more. That helps the whole area. So in terms of, yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Where do you find you're limited in someone wants X number of square feet and we don't have it? Is that a problem here?
We're looking at it. Right now, we've estimated that downtown, kind of in the DDA and a little bit around it, we've probably got about 160,000 square feet of office vacant. That's a significant amount. There's only several large floor plates, greater than 10,000 square feet. But right now, there are not that many companies looking for it, is what we've been seeing. I think we still do have some room, and before we can see our rates push up, we need to get that office space built. But still, in the last 3 years, we've seen the rates start to drift up. We're now about 24, 25, 26 bucks a foot down on campus, yeah.
Which is different from before.
Yeah,
I mean, it's higher.
they were down in 18, 19, 20 bucks a foot.
Yeah.
So eventually, they will get to the rate, I think, where new construction could work. But we've run the numbers just personally, and I think you need to get $29, $30 a square foot to make new construction work. So we got a little bit of gap to go.
That vacancy amount of square footage, roughly what percentage of that is of the total downtown vacancy? So what's the vacancy rate, would you say, in downtown?
Probably 9%, 10%, if you look at the actual vacancy. Just to get back to Borders, as you asked, we can't announce, we have not announced yet on the first floor. I can say we have more offers than spaces that we have. It's a jigsaw puzzle right now. We're trying to find the best fits, some local, some national, some retail, some restaurants, kind of see who works the best together.
But you have more offers than you do space.
That's good to hear.
And the clock went up, but we're asking him.
No, well, we're asking him questions, so we're not doing this the way we would regularly.
So the next question I guess I would have, when you spoke to the Mayor's Downtown Marketing Task Force, which is a good meeting for those who, DDA members who might want to come, you mentioned that there was very, very little vacancy in the downtown area that didn't already have some, it wasn't already contracted on the retail side.
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing in terms of retail, first floor space, the restaurants are doing better than they ever have. I mean, the restaurants downtown we're seeing do between $3.5 and $6 million a year in sales. That, even at the high rents that are down here, it works, and they're doing well, they're making money. Additionally, they are signing longer term leases. They're not 3, 4, 5-year leases. They're now doing 10 to 15-year leases. So I think we'll see the turnover diminish. I think we'll see stronger tenants down here, and that's helped by, being fueled by the office density, which they all kind of work in unison.
And just one more. Would you say that the main floor, the entire building of Borders would probably be occupied by summer, by October, by? Yeah,
depending on the time for the build out. I think certainly by the end of the year everyone will be open. It depends on how long the build outs for individual retailers take. But yes, I think we will see that building can single-handedly transform that Liberty Corridor, in my opinion.
My question is, how would you estimate how much of this growth is local growth, primarily university born, versus from out of town growth?
Well, what we've seen, the transition, if you look more specifically downtown, it's really down towards campus. We talked to the heads of Barrack, the CEO of Barracuda Networks, and he looked at it, and they could either start hiring people in California or they could hire people here. And when he looked at it, it's a third of the cost to live here. They don't have to fight for employees here. And Ann Arbor's got a great community with the amenities downtown, the lifestyle downtown, people can live downtown or live outside of downtown. And they want to be close to the university because what a lot of other ones do, they hire the kids as interns, so they want to be close to them. Then the day they graduate, they hire them full time.
I guess my question really is, how much are we growing the population of new folks downtown from here versus how many are outside firms relocating?
I think the majority of the new employees, is that what you're asking, who they're hiring? I think it's a mix, but I think the majority are from Ann Arbor. They're kids that either are in school here that they want to hire, or people they're taking from other companies locally.
If I could, you'd also indicated that you'd had some conversations with companies that build grocery stores in cities, and you related at the marketing task force what they had said. Everyone
seems to want a larger grocery, not like a Babo, but a larger grocery store downtown. We have talked to one larger company that specifically does them on college campuses or in small downtown communities. Their rule of thumb, just to kind of give you an overview basic, is 10,000 full-time residents downtown in a small downtown area. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, we're about 4,000, 5,000. So we're halfway there. And they won't even look at a community without them.
What about grocery store parking?
That's another big issue. We looked at Bruce Thompson's building, 413 Huron, which is about the right size for a smallest 10,000 square feet. It could be expanded to 15,000 square feet. He had, I believe, about 70, 80 parking spots. Even that was not enough.
It's good enough for the AMP.
That was a long time ago.
That was before my day. So I can't talk about that. But, ease of parking, we're not downtown Chicago, we're not downtown New York. People don't want to, if people are going to, go to Bush's or go to Plum Market, be able to walk right to their car and put their groceries in, or have to go to a public parking garage and pay for it. They just don't see it working yet. And that's directly from them. So it's not me standing, that's my opinion. That's directly the feedback from them. And these are big guys that run big stores.
Oh, yeah. Any more questions? Go ahead.
Well, it sounds like if you were to characterize the health of the business climate in the downtown, how would you put that?
It's improving strongly. We've seen, like I said, a big transition kind of down to the Liberty State area, but we're running out of space there, and there's virtually no office space left down in that area. I think we will continue to see the vacant spaces fill up and the rates improve. We've already seen the rates improve in the past 2 to 3 years. Retail, I think, is as healthy as ever, which is all great. I think we should be very grateful we're here. We track all over Michigan. There's no other community. Grand Rapids is healthy, but still, there's no other community I'd rather be in. I'm not saying that because I grew up here and went to school here. I honestly think that, the rental rates we have are some of the strongest in the entire state of Michigan. The demand, the volumes for restaurants are some of the strongest in the state of Michigan. We should be grateful for them. I think it will continue to improve.
Well, we are grateful for you having come here to tell us
Oh, my
all
pleasure.
this, and thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay. The next person listed is Claire Dykstra from Skyline High School. Please come up.
Okay. I'm here to talk about AirRide. I've been working with AirRide for my communications, media, and public policy class at Skyline High School. It's received some criticism, but it's truly misguided. AirRide is a comprehensive service that takes people to and from the airport. Before AirRide, people had to pay for expensive taxis or airport parking, or they had to get rides from their friends. So AirRide is a helpful service, but some people think that it has few riders because the ridership numbers were not very high when it first came out. However, AirRide's ridership has increased substantially since it began in February 2012, about a year ago. The AirRide buses have many amenities, including Wi-Fi, large comfy seats, outlets, and footrests. A nice touch is the free cold bottled water they provide to the riders. Additionally, the actual buses are among the first in Michigan to use technology that produces near zero emissions. AirRide has many partners to help make these amenities possible, including Michigan Flyer, which is a subsidiary of Indian Trails, Airbus, Kensington Court, and the DDA. For example, Michigan Flyer provides the buses that produce the little emissions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. That was most interesting. We appreciate it. The next person on our list is Catherine Liu from Skyline High School.
She's not here today. so
Okay. And so come up and tell us your name.
I'm Angela.
Okay, Angela Song. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm also a part of the Communications, Media, and Public Policy Magnet at Skyline High School. And I'm also here to say a few words about our current advocacy project, AirRide. So AirRide is a bus service that takes people to and from the Detroit Metro Airport. And it's brought to the public by AET8, and it's a private and public partnership with Michigan Flyer. And it's been getting some complaints so far because of low ridership, and many people believe it's not a good use of taxpayer dollars. But however, AirRide has been getting increased ridership ever since it's been implemented in February of 2012, as well as a lot of positive feedback. The buses themselves are really nice motor coaches with large luggage space, so you're really getting your money's worth when you're riding with AirRide. There's Wi-Fi, power outlets, ample legroom, reading lamps, and tinted windows. And those are a few of the amenities that make the experience really nice. So I encourage you to take AirRide next time you need a lift to the airport. And the tickets are only $12, which is much less than taking a taxi or having to pay for airport parking. And I personally think the positive aspects of AirRide far outweighs the negatives, and it's a service that really benefits the majority of our community who cannot access an affordable and convenient commute to the airport. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Angela. Okay. We've heard from our people who have signed up, so we next go to reports from city boards and commissions. Is Ray Detter or someone, oh, you are here. I thought you'd gone. Come up and give us your report, Ray.
I will do that. The CAC last night wanted to express the fact that we continue to support the DDA's continued leadership in the careful planning of the future of our downtown, and also having the necessary finances to do that. Although there are some roadblocks we all know about at this particular point, the Connecting William Street concept of a coherent plan for the 5 city-owned downtown properties that emphasizes context in defining the appropriate buildings, density, and use simply makes good sense. We feel that we must not be for sale to the highest bidder. We also applaud the DDA's commitment to a mix of housing opportunities in the downtown. Brendan, where are they going to live? It's a big issue for all of us. Because right now we're not supplying places much with regard to people who perhaps work at Barracuda. We also, the willingness of the DDA, however, has been shown in the support really for the Village Green project, city apartments, and also the 618 project on South Main. And this is now really in the face of 7 potential high-rise housing developments in downtown. And what is a decreasing amount of developable space in the downtown? There's not much left. 2 important resolutions were proposed before City Council on Monday night. The CAC supported both of those resolutions. A resolution was passed to reconvene the design guidelines task force to review and make recommendations to the City Council regarding improvements to the city's design guidelines and design review process. The DDA is connecting William Street recommendations for future projects on 5 downtown public sites, included asking the Planning Commission to report to City Council how future developers consider changes in their design in response to the design review process. DDA recommendations on density and massing for future buildings on city-owned downtown lots made clear, and I quote here, the surrounding context should be considered in buildings designed to step back from lower-scale neighbors. What the DDA is connecting William Street patterns requires for the development on city-owned property, we hope may soon be required for all buildings in the downtown. We all know that Council in 2009, it's been a good number of years now, developed D1, D2 zoning after considerable discussion and some uncertainty. And it did so as a trial, expressly stating at various times that it would revisit the zoning and design guidelines and process after year. And now is the time to do that. On Monday night, a resolution was proposed and postponed for a 6-month moratorium on D1 development in the downtown in order that the city could reevaluate the zoning requirements of large D1 projects in the area. This was done in the recognition that the zoning requirements sometimes conflicted with the stated goals in our adopted downtown central area and plans and also city ordinances. And now all you have to do is take a look at the Varsity high-rise project in East Huron, what it looks like. We've all seen the renderings of the massive student housing proposal proposed at 413 East Huron. In fact, the Historic District Commission recently passed a resolution saying that 413 East Huron, I quote, threatens the preservation of significant historic resources in the adjacent Division Street Historic District. Nearby, the strip of East Huron includes multiple parcels that could be inappropriately developed, like the U of M Credit Union parking site right next to City Hall, which allows for 180 feet of that location right across the street from a historic residential neighborhood. Also, the Hands-On Museum, where 180 feet is also provided in that particular area. The downtown area CAC supports this D1 moratorium for 6 months in order that we can bring our zoning more in conformance with our adopted city plans and ordinances, as well as the goals of the DDA, of the DDA's connecting William Street, and what that direction intended. What we need is a carefully planned downtown, not something which is currently open to out-of-town developers who come in, grab it whatever opportunity they have, and very often, if they can, sell it before it's even finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. The next person is Aaron Seagrave, who is from the Public Arts Commission. Welcome.
Thank you. I'd like to load a PowerPoint if I may.
Sure.
Russ, don't you usually adjust the lighting for us?
The lighting's fine, which means that it's on except for the screen.
Set up your
People usually turn them all off, which is a bad idea. Because it means the speaker's unimportant.
as long as it's set right. As long as the stage is set appropriately.
He sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
So in other words, except Russ starts talking,
Turn the lights on.
Well, thanks for allowing me a few minutes to speak. I'm Aaron Seagrave, the Public Art Administrator with the city. And I'm here to talk about a program, a temporary art installation sponsored by the DIA called the Inside Out. And it's been sponsored by the Knight Foundation. So this is the 4th year of this program, and it's coming to Ann Arbor in the spring. And what it is the DIA has a collection of famous artworks, and they make reproductions, and they place them in outdoor settings. They're produced to the scale of the original, and they come with frames. So it's basically an open air gallery. And Ann Arbor will be one of the communities coming this spring. And the timeline is April to mid-May, and they'll be installed in late March. And along with this, there's a lot of different community programs that are available that we could participate in. And that's part of the reason why I'm here, is just to get the word out there about, first of all, the display coming to the city, and also to maybe brainstorm ideas on how to leverage this opportunity and take advantage of different programs that might fit the mission of the DDA or other organizations in the city. So along with that, along with the installation, there's different opportunities for tours. There's a ribbon cutting that could take place, art making workshops, bike rides, docents would be available for speakers. And there's also a lot of different social media happenings too. And also, the DIA will have a community weekend in which residents of Ann Arbor will be able to visit the DIA, the Detroit Institute of Arts, for free. And our weekend will be April 20th and 21st. That's a Saturday and Sunday. And I have more information that I'll hand out about that particular day. And this describes a lot more about what would happen and occur during that community weekend. For example, there could be musical performances at the DIA from Ann Arbor, and I know we're speaking with the public schools about having some different student musical groups perform there. And there's other examples of different things that could happen. So again, like our installation is scheduled for March 29th, and they'll be up from May until mid-June, or April until mid-June. And here are some examples of some programs. As I said, this is the 4th year of this installation, the Inside Out. And here are some examples of other communities and what they've done. And hopefully we can get at least a few of these happening here in Ann Arbor. Bike tours, art talks, Inside Out talks, walking tours, bus tours, and art making festivals. And so here's some examples. These are just photos of different communities. Livonia had a community bus tour. Royal Oak had a school walking tour organized with the schools. In Holly, there was an art tour during a full moon in the evening. Art walk in Troy. Bike tour in Detroit. And you can see the images and the reproductions there and how they all appear. An April Fool's Day shark sitting. I'm not sure exactly what that was. But
Sounds interesting.
yeah. Armada Guerre. And a leather music performance, again at night in Royal Oak. Flashlight tour, an evening tour. I think those would be fun. And there's a lot of different marketing happenings going on along with the installation. For example, a walking tour map will be given. The DIA will produce these and have them available at the locations where the art will be. And there will be it'll be walkable, the planned locations for the art. A few in Carytown, a few along Main Street, near Main Street, and a couple in between. So it'll be easy to walk. Also, there'll be different things such as a photo contest, geocaching, scavenger event, and you can upload things to Flickr when you take photos. If you're near one of the locations where an art is displayed, you can take a photo of yourself or a friend. And there is a dedicated Facebook page for the Inside Out. And there's the Flickr promotion. And there will be a photo contest where you can win a membership, and I don't really have the details of that yet, but I can share that once it comes along. And so again, the reason I'm here is just to introduce the idea, and I'm asking really for any brainstorming on community events such as art tours, or if there's anything that you want to bring to my attention, I'll leave my card and information here. And so that's really what we're looking for. We'd like to have a few programs associated with the temporary display while it's in town. And I'll hand out this information on the community day too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, if you leave your stuff with Susan, she'll
Okay.
take care, make sure that we
Thank you.
see everything. Next up, Roger Hewitt, who has a report on the connector study.
The steering committee for the connector study met yesterday, and we are at the point where we are starting to look at possible routes for the connector. For those who aren't familiar, this is a high-capacity transit line that runs in what we call the boomerang, roughly from northeast Ann Arbor through North Campus, the Medical Center, Central Campus, the downtown, and south to the Briarwood area. This is a part of a federally funded as well as locally funded study called the Alternatives Analysis, as part of what's necessary to qualify for federal matching funds for this project. We are now coming up with potential alternative routes that this could take. It's a somewhat challenging task, as there are no obvious ways to get through some of the tighter areas of the city, Medical Center and the downtown. But as soon as we have some alternatives put together, we're going to have public outreach to a number of agendas to get public feedback on what we ultimately will come up with, which will be the locally preferred alternative. So those outreaches will probably be taking place the end of April or in May right now. We did get some interesting data from our consultants. One identified the density of trips, and this is by trips we mean all trips, walking, biking, cars, and although there was certainly quite a bit of activity around both the Medical Center and the Central Campus areas, you would expect, the Main Street and downtown area had as much density of trips as the campus area. So it was encouraging to see that the activity level is not just centered at the university. It is equally strong in the downtown area. One of the questions, we're coming up with a list, the consultants are a list of frequently asked questions, but one of the questions that comes out a lot is concern that Ann Arbor is too small for this sort of a transit corridor. And we asked the consultants to look at some other cities that have similar types of operations, whether they're a bus rapid transit, which is basically a dedicated lane or guideway for buses, whether it's streetcar or whether it's light rail. We're sort of defining streetcar as a one vehicle, rail vehicle, whereas and light for streetcar and light rail would be multiple vehicles. But they looked at comparing Ann Arbor with actually 12 different communities, 9 of which have some form of a mass transit system, bus rapid transit or light rail or streetcar. Those are Cleveland, Eugene, Little Rock, New Orleans, Norfolk, Virginia, Portland, Oregon, Salt Lake City, Tacoma, and Jacksonville, Florida. They also included Lansing and Grand Rapids and Fort Collins, Colorado, which have systems in the planning stage right now. With the exception of Lansing, all these cities are larger or quite a bit larger population-wise. But they dug a little deeper and looked at the population per square mile, or the population density. And if you look at all of those, Ann Arbor ranks 4th on that list for population density. Going a little farther, if you look at employment density, how many people are employed per square mile? Ann Arbor's 1st among all those cities. We have 3,800 people working per square mile in the city. The next closest one is Cleveland at about 3,300. Then it drops down to about 2,500, and lower. So Ann Arbor, although it is small geographically in size, is pretty dense in population and extremely dense in jobs, which I think is the answer to why you need a transit system like this. Is we have a lot of activity, both in population and in jobs, and moving people around and finding places for people to park is going to become increasingly difficult. So thought I'd pass that along, and if you want more detail, I've of course got that.
Thank you, Roger. The next item on our agenda is communication from DDA members, and I believe Keith, you wanted to say something? Keith Orr?
Yes, thank you very much. To paraphrase a city council member, I'm not here to vilify city council, though it would be an easy task. Rather, I'm concerned about the shot across the bow we witnessed at Monday's city council meeting. Those shots might be politically motivated in the same sense as the ideologue-driven politics which has ground our federal government to a stop, or simply a lack of understanding of the nature of the DDA. While the relationship between the City Council and DDA is occasionally strained, this has more to do with the different nature of the entities and culture of the organizations. On the whole, our relationship has been mutually beneficial, and more importantly, beneficial to the downtown and residents of Ann Arbor. First, I would like to say how proud I am to be a part of the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority, serving as a volunteer on this board. I've been a downtown businessman for over 20 years and a resident of this city since 1976. My pride comes in the fact that we are doing something which very few other government entities are doing, focusing on infrastructure. We hear in the news about our crumbling infrastructure across the nation, but very few entities are doing anything about it. The reason is simple. An elected body is mainly concerned with re-election. If there is an asset, they will take everything possible out of that asset and spend as little money as possible in the upkeep of that asset. In fact, this is the reason the DDA is a de facto parking authority. City Council abdicated their responsibility to maintain the parking system they owned and operated many years ago. They still own the parking system, but now it is maintained and run in a manner the envy of most cities. As my friend Howard Dean likes to say, the problem with our government is that we keep trying to come up with 2-year solutions to problems which have 5- and 10-year solutions. In the case of prisons, they are 20-year solutions, and in the case of the environment, they are 100-year solutions. Our spending of public money is not only well spent with tangible benefit to the city, but often saves City Council enormous amounts of money. We pay nearly $500,000 of the bond on the judicial building, and will do so for the rest of my lifetime. This was to benefit the city of Ann Arbor. As anyone who studies urban streetscapes will tell you, government buildings are usually counterproductive to enlivening a streetscape. City Council needed to replace courtrooms and police headquarters, and we helped them do so. Ann Arbor streets were not ADA compliant. Complying with this federal law costs millions of dollars. The DDA undertook these improvements and saved the general fund from having to pay for it. Our actions have improved parking infrastructure, public and alternative transportation infrastructure, energy efficiency of downtown buildings, residential infrastructure, and so much more. City Council asked the DDA to examine and propose a plan for the development of several parcels of land on or near William Street, now appropriately labeled Connecting William Street. Our job was not to create our own ideas, but to consult experts and engage the public. We proceeded to do so in a variety of ways, including symposiums on urban planning and development and a vigorous series of community meetings. If you accuse the resulting ideas of being stale, you are accusing the citizens of Ann Arbor of having stale ideas, not the DDA. We truly engage the public by going out to the public, not expecting them to come to us. I am proud to serve on this body which works collaboratively with each other and with the businesses and residents of downtown Ann Arbor. I am proud that we work on science-based policy. I know that many members of City Council appreciate the odd but valuable symbiotic relationship between the DDA and City Council, and I hope that calmer heads prevail.
Thank you, Keith. Any other comments? Bob?
Well, I'm sure I won't be as eloquent as Keith, but as a fairly new member of the DDA, I just want to say how impressed I am in terms of the success of the DDA. We talked about it this afternoon. Tremendously successful in the downtown, and as I say, as a new member, I really don't take any credit for that, because what I've observed is a very strong commitment to fiscal stability, and it's now proposed that we change the rules about that, about how we capture the TIF and the like. And frankly, I hear no reason for that. But this body has a 10-year fiscal plan, and it manages the dollars very well. Again, you can see it in the success of downtown, the commitment to housing, the commitment to infrastructure, and a very viable parking system that helps support the city, but also, in my mind, if a parking system can be, it is very customer friendly. So in my mind, there's been a real partnership with the city, a very successful run here. Again, I don't see a reason to change how we calculate those dollars. And frankly, we're on the hook for some bond payments, whether they're ours or the city's. We've committed to those, and in my mind, those should always be paid first. So I disagree with the need for the changes. I don't understand the reason. Especially concerned about the proposed changes to the board. The fact that we can't have elected officials from other jurisdictions, I think, is unfair to limit it. I think to have term limits is a mistake. I think what a body like the DDA gets through its board is a nice mix of new people, but also folks that have made a very longer-term commitment, who were there at the beginning of some of these projects, who have been able to stay on and do those over a period of time. I think whenever you put limits on who can serve and how long they can serve, I think that's a mistake. I think it's up to the governing body to determine how long any of us should serve, whether it's one term or two or even more, because I think when you look around the room, some of the biggest contributions by you all have been folks that have been on here for a number of years. So all in all, we can continue to improve how we do our work. There's no doubt about that. We're all into continuous improvement. But to change the whole system and the rules, really in my mind, without any reason, at least stated, that's legitimate, I would hope City Council would reject these changes. And if there are changes to be made, no one's really consulted with us as the DDA board and come to us and say, this is a problem, that's a problem, how do we deal with it? I guess we had the courtesy of the city sending over the changes, and obviously that's important. But I've really been impressed over my couple of years on the DDA about the commitment of this volunteer board and what we do and the success of downtown. I think it's the best downtown in the state of Michigan, and I think the DDA deserves a lot of credit for that. And I wouldn't mess with it this way.
Thanks, Bob. Anyone else? Russ?
I think that people understanding that the folks on this board are volunteers, as Bob said. I mean, and when you're dealing with prudent financial management, and when you're dealing with infrastructure issues as the core of what you do, it seems to be kind of necessarily boring. And then excellent management of our core task, which is the parking system. From the construction's always difficult, but to run a project like we ran with the library lane lot, and to have the very good result, all things considered, that came out is quite amazing. And again, it speaks to solid management. The annual operating of the system and the quality of maintenance speaks to good management. And then prudent financial management of resources. And I think that that's a core piece of what a city board needs to do, and these volunteers have taken that very seriously and have executed year after year after year. Is everything perfect? I don't think so. I get mad at parking meters. I get mad at ice and snow being where you might not want it to be. I get frustrated with some of the aspirational natures of what we might like to do at the DDA, but we can't do, but we keep talking about. But in terms of good use of taxpayer dollars by volunteers who are committed to the city, who work and live in the downtown and who care, that's what you have on this board. And to have it be a political punching bag for the sake of political aspiration doesn't seem to be good use of the volunteers who are here out of their bottom line concern for a place that they love and the place that they want to commit time and hopes are intelligence and concern to make the downtown and Ann Arbor in general just a little bit better with the resources and the folks who have made that commitment to do that.
Thank you, Russ. Anyone else? Sandy?
Sure. I've got a couple of concerns, and one, over the last decade, the DDA has been able to put about $3 million into affordable housing in and near the downtown, and that is something we pulled back on, just putting money into our funds over the last few years as we were building the parking structure. It is something that's very easily eliminated from our budget line. This year's the first year it's back again. If there's a significant hit, it will immediately go away. We have an issue with not having a whole lot of diversity downtown. Ray Detter's group calls on that. We need more opportunities for the people working in Barracuda to maybe live downtown. All of the things, investments in the housing, it's important to me that we have a broad range of opportunities for people to live downtown, and that will suffer tremendously. My other concern is that the specific attack, I think, is not grounded in a way that somebody understands how TIF operates and how the investment that we make in infrastructure from the DDA's perspective actually brings the whole downtown up, and it brings more money to the general fund. It brings more money to all of the taxing authorities. So an increase in value of downtown properties helps everybody. And I think that it's an undermining of the system. It seems to be working pretty well right now. It's cutting the neck off the golden goose, if you might equate it to a fable of sorts. Looking for the egg, only to realize that you've killed the goose. So that's a huge fear for very, very short-term gain to make a mistake like that.
Any other leader?
I would echo a lot of what Bob said. I mean, with regard to the DDA, what I've noticed in my short time here is that there's a commitment from the board as a whole to doing what's right, and to at least what we believe is right, and to keep going forward with what we believe is best for the city. Obviously, I'm the most junior member on the board, and I spend a lot of time on the board trying to learn and trying to see exactly where the direction of the board is to go. And at the same time, I'm not an Ann Arbor native. I was not born here. I moved here. I've lived here now for about 4 or 5 years, and I've made myself move downtown. I love downtown. And frankly, I wouldn't live anywhere else in the state of Michigan. So what I see on a month-to-month basis from this board is a commitment. And it's a commitment that is, we get we get our share of criticism, and we take it, and we continue to go forward. But again, it's a volunteer position that we all love to do, and I don't see any need for a change.
Thank you. Joan?
I just wanted to shift gears a little bit and say that last week I went to a day-long seminar that the AARP sponsored that was on the university campus about aging communities and how municipalities can respond to aging communities. And it was really interesting, Councilmember Briere was there as well, that Ann Arbor leans more heavily than the national average toward the baby boomer age, and less heavily towards the young people, under 40 people, and even under 35 people, which is kind of surprising. But we're not retaining young people. And what came out of this, with lots of national experts on urban planning and walkability and services for older people, was that if you focus on walkability, transit, that kind of livability, that benefits both the aging population and helps to retain the younger population as well. And it was encouraging to see that the things that we've been focusing on are indeed correct, that having more walkable cities and investing in that infrastructure, as everybody's talked about, does stimulate the private development of residential areas. And so that was very encouraging, and I took a lot out of that, of moving forward as we have been to working on that infrastructure in order to bring more residential development to our downtown, because ultimately those are going to be, it's great place to live for older people who have a hard time getting around, and a great place to live for younger people who don't have a hard time getting around but want to be in an active environment.
Thank you. Anyone else with comments? Okay, I want to thank everyone for their comments. I agree with my colleagues on the board that they really ought not to mess with something that works well. We have been very good stewards of the city's infrastructure. When I first joined the board, and I'm the one who's been here the longest, and there's been criticism about that, but one of our board members turned to me and said, "Do you know all your parking structures are falling down?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" We had just taken over the parking system. Well, with that, we proceeded with a plan of repair and replacement of the city-owned parking structures that was paid for by our parking system because we were managing it in a much more efficient manner. We tore down and built 2 new parking structures and did major repairs in all the others. We now have a parking system that is customer-friendly, it's safe, and for all the money we spent in that first part, we didn't add 1 new parking space. Finally, we have added 711 new parking spaces, and as we just heard today, we are on the cusp of redevelopment in the downtown for businesses, and we also hope for residences. We have a number of new apartment buildings that are in progress and some that are planned. So my feeling is that the DDA has been careful, it has been prudent, and it has been beneficial to the city. So that's what I have to say. Thank you. The next item, I'd like approval of the minutes of the February 6th meeting. Is there a motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
They are approved. Subcommittee reports, let's start with the Operations Committee. We have Roger Hewitt, John Splitt, and John Moet.
Roger. Start with the financial. If you turn to page 6, the monthly parking report. One of the things we're starting to do, Republic Parking is starting to do for us, is give a little rationale as to why there are month-to-month fluctuations. What's different this month than the same month a year ago? So you could look at put a little, not just a bunch of numbers in front of everybody. If you want to look at the numbers, our revenues, again, are increasing at a rate that is beyond the rate increase that we put forward. We're up over 14% in revenues over January of a year ago. The number of hourly patrons is about flat, just up about 1%. If you'd like to go down to the comments, some things that influence these numbers. If you look at, first of all, U of M classes in January didn't start till the 9th. Last year they started on the 4th. So that's 3 days where the university was not in session. Certainly had an impact on the parking system. Meter bags were up a fair amount, almost over 30 meter bags. That has a positive impact. We gave away a lot more free meter bags to not-for-profit organizations than we did a year ago. Dollars of over $17,000 in value of free meter bags to nonprofits. As far as other influences, New Year's fell on a Tuesday rather than a Sunday, so that had some influence on parking. And number of weekend days was the same. We're going to try to continue to get more information, both in narrative as well as in numerical, to try and give people a better idea of what's going on in the system. But clearly demand is continuing to be strong, and revenues are continuing to be strong. Joe's not here, so there are more questions. I'll try and field them.
Any questions for Roger?
Okay. Next on page 7, as most board members probably know, we pay Republic Parking a management fee to operate the parking system for us. The fee is $200,000 a year. $150,000 of that is guaranteed. The remaining $50,000 is based on a number of both objective and subjective criteria. So I would like to move a resolution to approve the year-end management fee for public parking for this year.
It's been moved to support. Any discussion?
Okay. Let me review what we're proposing first.
Okay.
For the first year since I've been here, we are proposing, and with my enthusiastic support, a management, incentive part of the management at the full $50,000 level. This is based on, if we go to page 8, several both, say, objective and subjective criteria. First, if you look at the, under A, the customer surveys, you will notice the change that the number of poor and the 1s and 2s, the poor levels in those surveys dropped to about half what they were the previous year, replaced with, moved almost all of those up into the excellent area. So there's clearly a perceptible change in customer satisfaction within the system. And I think, though, if you look at the percentage of those numbers, that's pretty impressive for any customer survey. We had a surplus in the operating budget of more than $1.5 million above what was budgeted through more efficient operations and also the automating of several structures. Our independent parking inspector did 48 written reports, showed an increase of over 1% in his ratings, up to almost 92% satisfactory. The accounts receivable are down at about 1.5% below the target mark of 5%, well below that. Dead tickets, which are tickets that aren't collected, we had a target of 1.75%. Last year was about 2.5%. This year is down to 1%. So we're seeing pretty dramatic improvements in customer satisfaction and operating efficiency. I think this alone would be quite satisfying. Plenty of reason to approve the full amount of the incentive. But beyond that, Republic Parking this last year has opened the new library lane parking structure, which was quite a challenge. It's a large parking structure, our first entirely underground structure. There are a lot more systems and complexity than an above-ground structure, and they had to do all this startup to get it open for art fair at the same time construction was being completed. It was quite a challenge, and they did an excellent job of it. They are also involved in the construction and the advice and construction of the new First and Washington structure that is currently under construction. And on top of all this, we moved to automation in two of the structures, the Fourth and Washington structure and the Liberty Square structure. This involved a lot of customer service, of putting people where the customers were, teaching them how to use the automated machines, assisting with problems. It's a lot to take on in 1 year. It's certainly more than our parking operator has taken on in any year that I've been involved in the DDA. So I think Art Lowe and his staff are doing a superb job, certainly the best I've seen since I've been here. And I wholeheartedly endorse the full incentive this year.
Further discussion?
Since Roger is generally a curmudgeon,
Generally?
take that as a huge compliment.
Well, I would just like to add my 2 cents. The automation and payment systems sometimes are a little complicated for people, and I want to say that Republic employees are right there on the ball all the time taking care of everything. And if there were little snags, an employee showed up, or if you pushed the button because your ticket didn't work, they solved the problem right away. So I give great praise to Republic Parking and their people who are on the front line. They do a great job, so thank you for your management, Art. Any further comment? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Thank you.
I have one more item on my report. We, among other things, had some discussion, follow-up discussion to the retreat about clean and safe in the downtown, particularly the safe aspect of whether the DDA should consider paying for several police officers for community relations and beat cop activities, as well as what a ambassador program might look like and what those how those might be integrated. I think we decided at this point we need a lot more information. I think certainly there's a concern that if our finances are not as we've planned them and budgeted them to be, that program is certainly not going to go anywhere. So I think we're going to still investigate that, but I don't think I see that going forward until we're certain of where our finances are.
Thank you. John Moab?
Thank you. Actually, considering the conversation earlier about the DDA's role in downtown and infrastructure, I'm pleased to be bringing forward a resolution for funding for the Go Pass supplemental downtown transit service and the Get Downtown program. Nancy Short is here to answer any questions that folks may have. If you would look at on page 10, you will find a resolution that speaks to the program, and last couple of operations meeting, we've had conversations with Nancy, and Michael Ford came and gave a very good presentation of their budget request and their vision for the program. And you'll see that in the resolution it's outlined, and there really are those components of Get Downtown, the Go Pass, Night Ride, and you'll see routes numbers 4 and 5, which is really looking to enhance the link with Ypsilanti. There's a recognition that a tremendous number of people who work in downtown Ann Arbor don't have the resources for driving into town, and a lot of the, especially nighttime workers, benefit from Night Ride also. So the one thing that in our conversations, though, we had qualms about, and I just would point it out on the following page, of page 11, is the original request from the ATA, which right about in the middle, you'll see Express Ride, Go Pass discount. That was one element that the operations committee felt that we have not quite gotten to the point, the program hasn't matured to the point where we feel that it's as key to downtown yet as it might be. Now in the future, our thinking may change and as our financial fortunes may change. But at this point, we'd like to see a little bit more success from that program than we're finding. There's apparently a lot of U of M writers, but we're not finding a lot of downtown writers. So the feeling was that that would be one piece that we could go without. So you'll see that at the bottom of that page on the left, page 11, you'll see their request was $628,662. But you'll see in the resolution it's $610,662. I guess other than that, is there anything else that I've missed? Anyone out there? Is that by and large it? I guess I'd like to move forward with the resolution and.
Is there support?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Further discussion on this resolution, Russ?
I know that there's a few folks that don't have a business downtown, but they conduct a business downtown. I'm thinking of like probably journalists and lawyers. And we don't have an opportunity for them to access a Go Pass because it's garnered through a business that's downtown for their employees to commute downtown. I wondered if there was some kind of way to, because I can't imagine that there's very many people that would qualify for that kind of a pass, although they would certainly benefit from it.
You're talking about like independent people who are not employed, self-employed?
Self-employed or employed for a business that would be just outside downtown, but they commute to downtown on a regular basis.
Nancy?
Give you a reaction.
Sure. Well, we do have a policy where if there's somebody who's temporarily downtown and they're contracting with another business that is located downtown, that business can actually purchase Go Passes for that duration of time. So there might be some of those individuals that are freelancers that are here but not for a long period of time, and for the period of time that they're here, as long as they're 16 hours a week, we allow them to get access to the Go Pass program. And then there are also institutions like the Workintile Exchange where we work with them so that they provide Go Passes to their employee, the people that are renting space from them. But I think that it's just as long as there is sort of an entity that is located downtown that is sort of benefiting the DDA by being here, we allow them to, as long as they fit the other eligibility requirements, to do that. I don't know if that covers all the people that you talked about.
It wouldn't, and do you ever make just exceptions based on a compelling case?
Well, again, the Go Pass program is very much the DDA's program as much as ours, because you're the one that's really helping us make it happen. So if there are any recommendations based on that, we can look at modifying the program and creating some different policies that might account for or speak to those specific individuals. So it's definitely, we're open to it.
Can I follow up with that? Interestingly enough, the resolution that came to City Council also potentially restricted funding to only activities within the DDA. And as you know, we have on our housing policies, we go within a quarter mile outside. So I think the question that you're asking is it possible somebody is in that just outside ring? Could we do that? I think with a policy decision, we could do that as long as we weren't prevented by City Council's actions.
I mean, are you saying, for instance, when you say lawyers, I mean, I can see a lot of colleagues of mine that, let's say, have their offices right outside downtown, but are always in court downtown or something like that. I guess I don't know how interested a lot of lawyers would be to do that, just because when we're done, we want to get out of there and get back to the office, and may not be able to wait, let's say, for a bus or just. I think it just kind of becomes such a common just way of doing things. Come downtown park and go to work, but I mean, it definitely could be something that.
Talk to Atticus Bench. He was interested.
Thank you, Russ. Any further discussion, John?
I just would say again that I'm always very, very happy to support this. I think it's one of the best things being done by any organization in the community. It helps those who can't afford or don't want to own an automobile. It helps the downtown businesses, reduces congestion, reduces pollution, really helps the city in moving towards its sustainability goals. And as you know, it's an innovative program that has won international award.
Amen.
And so it's again, it's a pleasure to have this on the agenda and be able to support it.
Thank you. Keith?
And indeed, as part of our adopts the presentation, one of the things was, if this program were not in place, how many people would be driving downtown as opposed to finding other ways? And according to the surveys, it would be enough that we would need one more library lane parking lot to accommodate all the people who would be coming downtown. So it's not only good environmental policy, but it's good fiscal policy as well. I guess the one other thing about the piece that we are not proposing to fund, the one thing we discussed was that the one positive aspect of it is the east-west transit question. And so our reasons were both that there was a lot of money for very small ridership, but also to relook at the funding and see if there's something that would make more sense in terms of marketing it and trying to increase the ridership as opposed to just simply subsidizing the few riders that were there. And so that's something that I know we had talked about and will continue to talk about.
One last comment I'd like to make is it's sort of our yearly opportunity to thank Nancy Short and her colleagues who have done a wonderful job. It's a wonderful tool for partnering with the ATA and also the downtown business community, because I find Nancy a wonderful resource because she's in businesses all over downtown. So there's a wonderful synergy, I think, that sort of connects organizations and people, and I want to commend Nancy and her work with our loyal staff to really bring us good information and help us with understanding downtown and the dynamics of what are changing and what directions. It's a wonderful resource.
Thank you for the words about Nancy, because I know that she has increased the ridership on the Go Pass exponentially since she started with us. So you've done a great job. We appreciate it. Anything else? All in favor of this resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Anything further, John?
The other thing is the bike house. Folks, remember our storing of bicycles at the parking structure. That work continues, and the exciting thing is that it is expected to be installed and launched next month.
Wow.
April.
So we're no longer calling it a cage, we're calling it a bike house.
Bike house.
All right.
Yeah. So that's exciting. There's a design completed, it's been bid, it's on order, it's happening.
It's got to have the largest capacity in the Big Ten, right?
That's right. And by the way, actually, there's been good support from the bicycling community and suggestions and ideas that have been tweaked, and so it's been a wonderful process, and I commend Amber for her hard work on this program.
Anything from John?
I should say one last thing.
Yes, sir.
That's also going to be administered through Nancy through Get Downtown.
To Get Downtown, good.
So I think that's, again, another one of these linkages that's very positive for all of us.
Then we know it'll be done right.
Yeah.
I know what I can do. I can announce our next committee meeting.
All right.
Wednesday, March 27th at 11 a.m.
Excellent. Thank you.
Well done, thanks.
Next is the report from the Partnerships Committee. Sandy or Joan?
Well, Sandy was once again very conveniently absent from our last partnerships meeting, leaving the report to me. We met with Jennifer Hall, who was supposed to be here today, but unfortunately she was sick today and couldn't be here, to discuss a request for funding to help redevelop Baker Commons. And in our partnership meetings, we've gone through a whole series of discussions from her about the very complicated transition that the Housing Commission is doing to shift to a more stable funding source for all of these properties. And so our adding to this redevelopment would help them in their transition. So because Jennifer can't be here today, I'm just going to read the resolution to you. And is whereas let me first move this resolution for funding for Arbor Housing Commission.
Moved and supported.
So it says, whereas the DDA created a housing fund with which it provides grants to meet its development plan goal to strengthen downtown by encouraging a diversity of downtown residences, whereas the director of the Ann Arbor Housing Commission met with the Partnerships Committee to request a grant in the amount of $300,000 with which to redevelop Baker Commons at 106 Packard, which is in the DDA, by the way, as part of a comprehensive plan to redevelop all of the AAHC's properties. Whereas the goal of this development process is to help AAHC transition Baker Commons to a project-based voucher funding model, which will provide more stable funding and access to additional sources of revenues to address capital repair needs. Whereas the total development cost of all AAHC properties is estimated to be over $25 million, and the total reinvestment in Baker Commons is estimated to be about $3 million. Whereas Baker Commons tenants are regular users of downtown, and significant reinvestment in this building will add to the vitality of the downtown and ensure that this does not become a blighted building. Whereas the Partnerships Committee recommends approval of the grant. Resolved, the DDA approves a $300,000 grant to the Ann Arbor Housing Commission, with funds to be taken from its housing fund to Baker Commons to be redeveloped and thus made more financially self-supporting. And resolve that the DDA hereby amends its fiscal year 2012-13 budget as indicated by this resolution.
Thank you. Discussion on this. John?
I just want to let folks know that I'm working with the Housing Commission on this, so I will need to abstain. But I may be able to answer questions if you have about the property itself.
Any further discussion? I'd just like to say this is directly concerning city-owned infrastructure, which is something that we have been good stewards of and we will continue to be. Mr. Mayor.
I just wanted to comment that while the city remains, as far as I understand it from our staff, one of only 2 cities in the state that still contributes money from the general fund to help with causes like affordable housing and supportive housing and food gatherers and whatnot, human services. And the county is very strong in this as well in their support of human services. We contribute to the nonprofits that overall I think help the people that need help the most. But I don't believe that there is another organization in this area that contributes directly to affordable housing to the extent that the DDA does. I'm quite sure the DDA is the largest contributor to affordable housing causes of any of the units of government or commissions or boards or whatever in this community. So I'm happy again to vote for this, and there's some great work going on at the Housing Commission. I think that it's really been turned around in the last few years, but you have to understand what they're up against, and the best way to do that is to view the line of investment that has been steadily going down from the federal government since the 1970s. And it seems as if the federal government is eventually going to get to the point where they don't support housing at all. That's the direction it's moving in. So the challenge that we all face is how do we keep public housing open and in good condition with this declining revenue stream from the federal government. So this is, again, this is a perfect thing that we could be doing, and I appreciate all the support we're able to give to affordable housing here from the DDA.
Any further comment? Kiki, go
And just very briefly, what it's mentioned in the resolution is how this is to change over to a voucher-based program, and that's because, as John pointed out, so much money is not being given to public housing. And the way they are doing it is moving to voucher-based programs, and this is imperative for the Housing Commission to be able to have a facility which is compliant with the voucher-based program. So it's going to leverage a lot more money coming in. The spending we approve is going to leverage a lot more money, federal money.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Thank you. Anything further, Joan?
Yeah, I wanted to just give further information about connecting William Street. Last time we talked about the possibility of exploring elements of the plan that we can directly affect as the DDA, such as the streetscape, and we're going to continue to work on this. And again, going to this AARP conference really convinced me that this is an area that we should be focusing on, is improving the streetscape and the walkability, things that we have been doing all along. but we have neglected William Street, I think. As you know, we held working sessions with the Planning Commission as part of our charge from the City Council. And knowing that that process was complete, the Planning Commission expressed an interest in a final presentation, which Amber made last night. And at their own initiative, the Planning Commission unanimously passed a resolution to accept the Connecting William Street Plan as a resource document to be used in support of the city master plan. So that we took on work that the city would have had to expend resources in doing to further complete its master plan, and that's something that we took on, that we've been able to benefit the planning department. They were very grateful for this, as was the planning commission, and I'm very happy to say that that's going to be a planning document that they can use for future developments. Sandy?
If I could have the mayor just kind of weigh in on the resolution that did pass on Monday night regarding the Y lot and how that fits in with Connecting William Street, or not.
Oh, the resolution that did pass to ask the city administrator to explore the marketing of the lot. There was some discussion about that, and I don't think that it's anything that, there was no final decision made, but to explore that. I personally, and I know the report indicated we should keep those two parcels together and try to wait and hold on to those. I think that this is a special case. I view it as we owe money on this lot, and it is, I understand the parking is generating enough to pay the interest. But I'm concerned. I'm pretty sure that, although I don't have a crystal ball, we'll be able to get a good interest rate if we were to refinance this December. I'm concerned what comes after that. What sort of a marketplace would we find ourselves in, both interest rates and with a market of ability to sell the lot 3 years from now when that comes up, or whenever it comes up, so that we could find ourselves, we've just been through a period where we know that the economy was in very bad shape just a few years ago. I'm concerned that we could find ourselves again, you just don't know what's going to happen in this situation, and we could find ourselves in a situation like you found in the 1980s, where interest rates were sky high, and yet the economy was stagnated. We could find ourselves in a very strong economy with low interest rates, but I'm not willing to take the chance when we have the ability right now in a strong market to sell that lot. There's been some good returns on other parcels in the downtown, and I think we have the ability to sell the lot. I think we do have the ability to influence what goes on there. Certainly mixed use, certainly a mix of what the purchaser deems proper for it. Could be office, and if there's residential, which I'd like to see, I think we would have the ability to work to make that studios and 1 and 2 bedrooms, to give some of those people that are moving to these tech jobs that we've learned about an opportunity to live downtown. So I understand that it differs from the plan that the DDA spent time working up with, but I think there's some special considerations for this particular parcel. As I said, I have some concerns, and I feel that while the economy is good and the market is good, that now is the time to take advantage of that.
But it'll still be able to reflect the public opinion of what should be on there. It doesn't preclude that.
Not at all. Not at all.
Thank you, Sandy. Anything further for partnerships? Your next meeting?
Next meeting, March 13th at 9 a.m.
9 a.m. Any other DDA business at this time? Is there anyone from the audience who wishes to speak to us at this time? Nancy, go ahead. You're always welcome.
While I don't have a gown on right now, I do feel like I'm obligated to thank you on behalf of the people that are downtown that are benefiting from what you just did in terms of supporting everything. So I kind of feel like I'm at the Oscars and I'm trying to thank all the little people. It's not about me. And one of the things I want you to think about and envision is that we had somebody come into our office who lost his wallet and was looking for a replacement Go Pass. We were able to give it to him, and he hugged my coworker. Mm-hmm. And I want to pass that hug along to you, because the reason he did that was because that was the most valuable thing in his wallet. So I wanted to thank you on behalf of the employees that work downtown. Last year we had over 4,000 employees who used their Go Pass to get on the bus to get to work. These are both employees coming from Ypsilanti that don't have any other choice, and people that don't want to bring their cars downtown because they only have one car, maybe their husband or wife works somewhere else. They want this incentive and they're using it. And also just to remind you that 48% of downtown Ann Arbor employees are choosing not to drive alone to get to work. They're biking, they're busing, they're carpooling, they're using transit. So that's almost half of the population downtown that, while parking is part of the choice, the menu of options, it's clearly not something that everybody is taking advantage of. And so what you're doing is you're also providing another additional benefit for employees who work downtown that they're taking advantage of. I also want to thank you on behalf of employers. Brendan mentioned both Prime Research and Barracuda. They both are also participants in the Go Pass program and are both very excited that that program is also available to any employees that choose to use it. So we do see, again, that many employers downtown, especially large ones that are offering a parking benefit, also want to offer other types of benefits to their employees because they understand that these are the kind of workers that want that sort of benefit to be in the downtown. Last year and this year we have over 450 employers that are taking advantage of the Go Pass program. So these are all people that you're helping to retain employees, attract employees. We do also have a lot smaller employers that, because they're in the restaurant retail industry, their employees can't necessarily take advantage of the wonderful parking structures all the time. They don't have the money to do that. And so being able to have a Go Pass allows those employees that might be very high talent employees but on a limited income be able to work downtown and really benefit the whole community by them being here and providing the talent that they have. Also, as the mayor said, I want to thank you on behalf of the environment. We all know how much carbon emissions can happen from private vehicles. And so having more people come down here by walking, biking, or busing, or using transit and all these other ways really benefits the whole environment of the community. And again, not just the environment, but I also want to thank you on behalf of all the customers and the visitors that, as Keith Orr demonstrated, or he said from a survey that we did, about 820 spaces are being freed up by individuals using the Go Pass instead of driving their cars downtown. And those are all spaces that can be used by customers, that can be used by visitors, because we know that people still want to drive. There's nothing that we're doing that is trying to limit that. We're just trying to make sure that as a urban, walkable environment, we want to give people the choices that they would like to get to work in the downtown area. So I think that it's great that we have this partnership, and it's great that the DDA is so supportive of transit and alternatives to getting downtown. Again, I don't think that that's always spoken about in the news, but you're making a huge contribution to making this downtown a great place to work and also do business. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nancy.
She wish she had a little statue.
Anyone else who wishes to speak to us, please state your name. You have 4 minutes.
Odile Lugono-Heber. I live in Ann Arbor for about 20 years now, and I have been an infrequent visitor to this meeting, and I'm frankly astounded that you spent 15 minutes making a glorious eloge of your board rather than to look seriously at the criticism that were voiced at the City Council. At a time where so many citizens are angry at the plan that you have proposed for the city, you could have looked seriously at the City Council critique and see how you could address them. But instead, your response is to deflate them by superfluous compliments to your board. In the same manner, you have public meetings, but you do not listen to any of the public comment, and you do not incorporate them in your planning. Yes, we want a livable city. We want spots of green, we want bench, we want water fountains, we want playground, we want small sustainable building, and we are tired of more and more parking lot. It's not a sustainable way of life. We don't want giant monster building like prisons. We are growing, and we would like to see more trees, and we do not appreciate this vision of more and more building. I am grateful that you are considering more affordable housing and supporting them, but it's not enough for a vision of the whole city. We want a city in which you incorporate young and old people, and it's a pleasure to live in. And your vision of Ann Arbor at this time doesn't seem to be that. It's growing ugliness instead of beauty downtown. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to us? Hi, please state your name. You have 4 minutes.
My name's Catherine, and I'm a student from Skyline High School.
Yes, of course.
So I'm here to talk about Air Ride, and it's a great program. I rode Air Ride for a school assignment, and I really enjoyed the free Wi-Fi. Allowed time to pass by really quickly, and I especially like the how Air Ride is eco-friendly. It's great to know that there are people conducting this program and that steps are being taken to help the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else?
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
I have to jump up here again. But while Nancy was speaking, I mentioned how critical parking is to get these tenants downtown. The Go Pass has been a wonderful asset. She mentioned Prime Research. I said, to Julie, who's one of the directors of Prime Research here, I said, Julie, we can work on parking. She said, we love the Go Pass. What we do, our job, a lot of people think is to market buildings, but what we're doing really is marketing downtown. And that's what we look at. And these things that have been provided by the DDA, the city, we look at assets to us. So they've helped us to recruit this talent. So I'd like to thank everyone here for that.
We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any further business? Is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, Alan. All right. You have 4 minutes.
Thank you. I want I've been here advocating for public use of the Library Lane parking lot for all of it. That you should just let all the camels on there and that field, and you'll have an oasis in no time, and not to worry that we just want to get our nose under the tent. In the little park, in the little skating rink that we are proposing that I talked about the last time I was here, and how that has advanced, it is coming to the partnership committee at their next meeting. Because this is in its essence, a partnership between city and DDA and private independent initiative and commitment to make something beautiful and fun in that little spot of downtown, where you would see something possibly developing that you would think is one of the amenities to build into downtown. Maybe somewhere else on Liberty Plaza, but right there seems like a good thing to do. Relatively easy, relatively small draw on city money, accessible private contributions to match. Seems like it could be a lot of fun, and the artificial ice surface and the platform can be relatively easily made. The surface can be in the summer through the fall and to the winter. We're just looking for a couple months to give this an idea a try and see how people like it. So that's going to come to your partnership committee. If there are particular questions of how you are concerned that we should make sure this is sharp to meet your various concerns, be glad to know. But then it will come presumably back here at your April meeting, which I hope you will see as just a beautiful idea, fun for almost everybody, and the people who don't like to skate can watch this public art in motion, and you'd have a nice thing downtown. So I hope you will go for it. I just wanted to remind you it is step by step in the works. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Supported? We stand adjourned.